accidentally became the ghost haunting my own apartment building. A few months ago, people in my apartment building started talking about a ghost. It started with small things. Someone would hear footsteps in the hallway at 3 a.m. Another person claimed they saw a shadow standing near the stairwell before it disappeared. One neighbor swore they heard someone whisper hello when nobody was there. The rumors spread fast. The funny part is that I knew exactly what was happening. I work night shifts and usually get home around 3 a.m. To avoid waking my roommates, I'd quietly take the stairs instead of the elevator. I also have a habit of talking to myself when I'm tired. One night, while carrying groceries, I dropped a bag. An elderly neighbor opened her door just as I bent down to pick everything up. The hallway light flickered at that exact moment. She screamed. I panicked and sprinted up the stairs. The next morning, the building's WhatsApp group exploded. Apparently, she had seen a dark figure crouching in the hallway that vanished when the lights flickered. The ghost stories got crazier every week. Someone posted blurry CCTV screenshots. Another person claimed the ghost only appeared after midnight. A third person said it was probably the spirit of a former tenant. I stayed quiet because honestly, it was hilarious. Then management announced that they were installing extra security cameras because residents felt unsafe. At that point, I felt guilty and admitted everything. Nobody believed me. Even after I explained the late-night shifts, the stairs, the dropped groceries, and the flickering lights, several neighbors insisted I was covering up the existence of the ghost. One guy actually said, "That's exactly what a ghost would want us to think." To this day, people still talk about the building ghost. And apparently, I'm not the ghost. I'm just the guy who lives on the 3rd floor. My dad saw a ghost at the pub. I was 14 years old when I started working at this pub in 2015. It's a beautiful pub, situated at the foot of the moors above our village in Wharfdale, in the Yorkshire Dales. I used to get teased by the chefs about it being haunted. It was hundreds of years old, and the landlady at the time, being a bit whimsy, had even at one point brought in a medium. There was one occasion where I was convinced that someone had walked behind me in the kitchen and gone down the cellar steps. But that doesn't even come close to what my dad experienced. Over the years, our family and friends frequented the pub for meals, drinks and such. My dad and his friends were regulars, drinking there most Sundays. Now I think it is important to stress how credible my dad is as a witness. He was never the sort to believe in ghosts. He's a Yorkshire man, not religious, ex-army, did 20 years as a traffic copper. Basically, he doesn't have time for nonsense. So when this man comes home and tells you he's seen a ghost, you are completely lost for words. So here's what happened. One Sunday, my dad and his friends were at the pub. The usual, walk the dogs up and have a few pints after close. Suddenly, the dogs went mental. They were barking at a glass door in the bar, which led to the back of the pub. When my dad looked, he saw a figure. The figure rushed across the corridor as though it had come in from the side door and had gone upstairs. My dad's first thought, being a police officer, was that someone was trying to rob the place, slip in unnoticed. My dad immediately went to search the back rooms. Upstairs, the cellar. Nothing. The external doors were locked. There was nobody there. He returned utterly confused, and the landlady said, "Oh, it'll be the ghost." The pub changed ownership a few years later. It's still a beautiful place overlooking the Wharfdale Valley. My dad lives in America now and stays there when he comes back. He's never experienced anything since. A story from my life. Back in the 1960s, my family was given an antique bedroom set that had belonged to my deceased uncle. It was old but beautifully made, the kind of furniture built to last for generations. There was something about it that felt different, almost like it carried a piece of the past with it. My younger brother and I shared the bedroom and slept in the same bed. One night, I woke up and saw a man standing in our room. I watched as he slowly walked out through the doorway. I was still half asleep and convinced myself it had only been a dream. I closed my eyes and went back to sleep. Later that night, I woke up again. This time, I saw the man return. I watched in disbelief as he moved toward the old mirror in the room. Then something happened that I still cannot explain to this day. The man climbed into the mirror and disappeared. I was terrified. I didn't know if I was awake or dreaming. I said nothing and stayed completely still, hoping it was over. The next night, I decided to stay awake. I needed to know if my mind was playing tricks on me. Then it happened again. The man appeared from the mirror. He slowly crawled out, stopped for a moment, and looked directly at us. He stood there silently, watching us before turning around and walking out of the room. Frozen with fear, I woke my brother. We stayed awake together, hiding under our blankets, watching and waiting. And sure enough, the man came back. We both saw him walk into the room and crawl through the mirror once again. That was the moment we completely broke down. We ran to our parents' room crying, terrified, and told them what we had seen. Our father didn't believe us. He laughed it off and sent us back to bed, saying we must have had a bad dream. But we were too scared to sleep in that room again. So we grabbed our blankets and pillows and made a bed for ourselves in the hallway. When our parents saw how frightened we were, they eventually switched bedrooms with us. A few days later, we woke up to the sound of a massive crash. We ran to see what had happened. Our father was standing there, pushing the old dresser and mirror down the back steps. Without saying a word, he went into the garage, came back with gasoline and an axe, and destroyed the entire bedroom set. Then he burned it. He never explained what he had seen. He never admitted anything. But we knew. Whatever it was, he had seen it too. Later, my mother asked us to describe the man. We told her everything we remembered. She became quiet. Then she told us that the man we described looked exactly like my uncle, the very person who had owned the bedroom set before he died. To this day, I still don't know what I saw that night. Was it a dream, a memory, something connected to that old mirror? I may never know, but this story will haunt me for the rest of my life, because some things you see only once, but you never truly forget them. Hubby and I saw an old family friend's doppelganger. Yesterday, my husband and I went to a small event in our city that's much like a Ren fair, LOTR themed. We got dressed up and all that, walking around the area, checking out the gift shops and having a blast. My husband saw his old high school buddy, Luke's mum, Tabby, and pointed her out, and she noticed him and called out his name. We went over to talk to her. Him and Tabby were talking about Luke and his sister, his grandma, all of their relatives, and she mentioned that Uncle Bill had recently passed away. Typical small talk with family you haven't seen in months or years. There was another younger woman with her who we didn't recognize. With her child, Tabby introduced them as her bonus daughter and granddaughter. This other woman hardly spoke a word to us, but when we left, she looked at me and said, "You're a blessing." We said goodbye to Tabby. She gave us hugs and kisses and gave my husband her number, which was almost exactly the same as my hubby's grandma's old number, except the last digit was different. And we parted ways. Cut to today. My husband had messaged Luke and asked him about his mama, and Luke had no idea what he was talking about. My husband swears up and down that she looked exactly like his mother. We gave him a play-by-play of the whole interaction and brought up Uncle Bill. And Luke said that Uncle Bill had passed away over 15 years ago. My husband has messaged the number Tabby gave him at the festival and never got a response. He called the number and nothing. It just rang and rang. He messaged the real Tabby, and she swears that she was never in the city. She's still living in my husband's hometown and had no idea what he was talking about. Luke's grandma had no clue either. We're completely stumped by this, and so is Luke and his mom. We have no idea how this Tabby immediately recognized my husband and knew all of that stuff about her family and my husband's family. Was she a doppelganger or something else? And what about the other woman she was with? Who or what did we really talk to? My room is haunted, and I'm to blame. I know how ridiculous that title sounds, but hear me out. A few years ago, I started waking up with random bruises and scratches. At first, I didn't think much of it. I figured I was bumping into things during the day and not noticing, or scratching myself in my sleep. Then other weird things started happening. My lights would flicker for no obvious reason. I'd occasionally wake up to find my TV switched on, despite the fact that I barely use it. I watch everything on my laptop, so it's not like I was falling asleep in front of the TV. The strange part was that it was almost always on a cooking channel. Then there were my posters. For some reason, one of my Doctor Who posters kept ending up on the floor. Not the others, just that one. I'd put it back up, and a few days later it'd be down again. The reason I think I'm to blame for all of this is because I turned it into a joke. Whenever something weird happened, I'd blame my imaginary ghost roommate, who I named Mr. Ghost Dude. One day after something strange happened, I jokingly said, "Yo, Mr. Ghost Dude, you can stay, but you've got to behave yourself." At the time, I thought it was funny. The bruises and scratches eventually stopped, which honestly made me feel better about the whole thing. But the other stuff never completely went away. These days it feels less threatening and more annoying. If I ignore the weird things happening around me, the lights will sometimes start flickering. The odd thing is that it feels like the flickering follows me. If I leave one room and go into another, the lights there will start acting up too. The only thing that seems to stop it is acknowledging him directly. I've never really had conversations with him. I've only ever talked at him. There was one exception. After my Doctor Who poster got torn down for what felt like the 100th time, I got frustrated and said, "What? Do you not like Doctor Who?" The lights immediately flickered. I took that as a yes. I took the poster down and it never happened again. The weirdest part is that I recently told a friend about all of this. They're really into paranormal stuff, and after hearing everything they told me, they thought Mr. Ghost Dude sounded like an aggressive entity and that I'd made a mistake by naming him and essentially giving him permission to stay. According to them, acknowledging something like that can encourage it. Personally, I thought I was just making jokes. Now I'm wondering whether I've accidentally spent years encouraging a ghost, whether I've created such a detailed running joke that my brain connects unrelated events, or whether Mr. Ghost Dude is genuinely out there with strong opinions on Doctor Who and a worrying obsession with cooking shows. I'm curious what other people think. My Venetian Las Vegas hotel room is haunted. I stayed at the Venetian in Las Vegas recently, and I had one of the weirdest hotel experiences I've ever had. The room felt off from the beginning, but I tried to ignore it because I was tired, and it was my first time in Vegas. Then the toilet kept flushing on its own. At first I thought maybe it was plumbing or a hotel issue, but it happened enough times that it started making me uncomfortable. Later, while I was sleeping, I kept hearing weird noises in the room. It felt like something was around me, but I couldn't fully explain it. I wasn't trying to scare myself, but the energy in the room felt heavy and strange. I ended up talking about it in my Vegas vlog because I wanted to know if anyone else has had a strange experience at the Venetian or another Vegas hotel. Has anyone else ever had a hotel room where things kept happening and you couldn't tell if it was plumbing, building noise, or something paranormal? My dad is still here. My dad passed away last September 14th. I was his sole caregiver for almost 10 years, so we grew close. I also took care of my mum, both times as an unpaid caregiver. My dad was concerned about me after he passed and made sure I received everything, even though I have 4 siblings who are totally useless. The last 2 months that he was alive, I had moved him into the living room. I slept in my lazy boy to keep an eye on him at night. I had a baby monitor placed in the room so I could watch him after he went to bed, and I wasn't ready yet. One night the monitor came on and there were all these orbs in the living room. They just disappeared. I know it's not insects because nothing was flying around. The second time the monitor came on and there was this mist above his bed, and he was reaching for it. It then just flew away. He had his rally the last Sunday before he died and was placed in the inpatient hospice facility. He died the next Sunday. I wish I had figured the stupid thing out better and had the film to show you. I've not really looked for any signs that he is still hanging around because I've had so much to do since he died. But yesterday morning, something happened that convinced me he is watching over me. I have a tower fan in my bedroom, and yesterday morning I was moving it closer to me when it almost tipped over. At that exact time, I heard my dad's voice say, "Uh-oh," which is something he liked to say when something happened. I am the only one living in the apartment, and my windows were closed. Plus, I have an air purifier running, so it blocks out any noise. But last night, I was sitting and thinking that it was my dad I heard. I thought maybe the fan said that when it fell over, but I've failed to debunk it. My mum died in 2013. On the Wednesday before she died, she had her rally. Told me she was dying and going to hell. After she passed, I had 2 very vivid dreams of her. The first one, she asked me how I was, and I told her that she was dead, and she said she thought so, but wasn't sure. The next dream, she tells me she's in heaven, but she misses me. Both times I woke up at 5:15 a.m. Haven't had any other experiences with her, but at least I know she finally found her peace. Is there anything we can do? So I was leaning over off my girlfriend's bed to grab something. It was slightly dark in the room, only the light coming from a projector. As I grabbed something, she grabbed onto me and started freaking out. I asked her what was wrong, and she took a second to reply and said to me, "There was a little boy by my door." She's still freaking out as I'm writing this. She said the boy was looking at her, but as she looked at him, he looked at me. She also described him as a blonde boy with a bowl cut, with a slightly long face, wearing a sailor suit. Is there anything we can do to find out what is going on? Because this isn't the first encounter she's had with something of the kind. Is there anything we shouldn't do?